Thank you, Chagit. Wow. I want to just give an extra round of applause for Chagit because that was unbelievable. In the fashion industry, it is estimated that by the year 2020, $254 billion in revenue will come solely from the Muslim market. Over the last few years, major fashion brands have been trying to tap into the lucrative market by creating modest, focused lines. They want to grow and expand. As business owners and entrepreneurs here today, we all want to succeed and grow. That's exactly why we're here. That may mean the need to expand beyond the market we started off with.
I, for one, am very much looking forward to the next panel, led by JWE's very own Chaya Appel-Fishman, Associate of Miles and Stockbridge PC. Our next panelists share how they have expanded their business outside of the community. We are pleased to invite to the stage Chaya Krinsky of Tove Furniture, Talia Mashiach of Eved, Deanie Klein of Prep and Rally, and Marcy Tibelli of Juice by Julie.
Let me just move this podium over. Hold on, I'm just going to move over the panel. Okay, I need help. Give us 1 second. It's very heavy. Good? Chaya? Chaya, love, here you go.
Oh, great. Are we all here? We're all accountable.
Look it off.
All right, Abby.
And I love her.
Okay, hello, ladies. Okay, not gonna lie, a little intimidated by this group here. So, first of all, thank you to all of you for being on the stage. Talia, I said this in my welcome, but was at our first conference. And just a little background, when I had the idea to launch the JWE, I had been, I don't want to use the word stalking, but there isn't really a more appropriate term, Talia for years. Every YouTube video that was out that had her, every award that she had won, I'd been following her. And so when I said, I'm going to put on a conference for powerful Jewish women entrepreneurs, I said to myself, she has to come. And so I tracked her down. I guessed your email. I guessed, I just put in a couple variations of atyourcompany.com. Yours was pretty easy. I don't want to give it out to the group, but if you guess enough, you will get through to the right people. So thank you to you for being here. Chaya, I discovered through my friend who's a makeup artist who did your face. And I said, what's her story? And then I started reading about you. I said, she's got to be here. Deanie, I am a subscriber to Prep and Rally. So I'm a full-time lawyer, and that's what my day job is. But the JWE is where my heart is. And so we'll talk about what you do. And then Marcy, Juice by Julie. I'll tell you why I know about Juice by Julie, because from me, I saw her in this room, is a Juice by Julie fan. And she posted about you guys. I'm in Baltimore, so I haven't, Oh, Chaya eats it every single day. So there's a connection between all of us here. So the focus of the panel today is we really want to talk about how do you bring your business outside of the observant community? For a lot of women, they've already saturated the frum or the observant market. For some, they never even started out kind of targeting that market. But depending on what your background is, it can often be very uncomfortable to navigate into spaces where you know very little about, where you have very few connections. And what's very interesting about the group on this stage is in different ways, Each of these women have really successfully navigated to a space that extends far beyond their comfort zone and the community around them. And so we're going to explore how they did that and the opportunities, challenges, etc. So just to start off, let's start with you, Deanie. We're going to do a quick, give us just your 3-minute, who are you, what do you do, how did you get started? But if you can do that in 3 minutes, talk fast. Okay, go for it.
All right, here we go. Set the timers. Hi, everyone. I'm Deanie Klein. I'm the founder of Prep and Rally, which is a family meal prep subscription service that helps busy mamas get through the week with ease while saving time, money, and sanity. Essentially, we give out a PDF every single week with a grocery list that guides you through a full Sunday meal prep plan, and then all week long, you're just simply assembling 4 unique dinners, Monday through Thursday. It's all about one dinner for the whole family, making it work and just making your life easier while saving this money and saving your sanity. It didn't start off this way. I started private chefing on the Upper West Side. I was doing that for about 7 years, working for private clients on a weekly basis. While it was fun, I was growing my brand and really getting hands-on experience, which was great, but it was just a lot of physical training time. So it was always a goal to really scale it, figure out how to grow it more than just what I was doing day to day, cooking for these clients, how it could reach more people. And I started in fashion before that. I always had an art background, so I wanted to stay creative, and Prep and Rally has allowed me to do that while reaching thousands of people around the world, rather than just cooking for these individual clients.
Deanie, when you started this business, was your target the observant community? Because, your meal plans are all kosher, but was that what you had in mind, or from the get-go you thought it would branch outside?
So when I was working as a private chef, I was really catering to frum Jews. Some were a little bit less observant, some more observant, but they all wanted kosher food. That was my specialty, kosher food, or just happens to be kosher, rather. But all very customized meals, whether it's for special diets, picky eaters, kids, Shabbat dinner parties, whatever it may be. But the goal was to always be able to scale and reach everybody, not just stop with kosher. So I started doing food videos with Tastemade as well. And my food just happens to be kosher, and they were fine with me not tasting the food at the end. It was not a problem at all. And this way, people that are watching it had no idea I'm kosher. I just kind of happened to be. I'm not making kosher Jewish food. It just sort of happens to be. You'll just never see me making pork or shrimp or whatever, anything like that. So yeah, I've always wanted to appeal to everybody because I didn't want to just narrow myself to the kosher community, because why stop there when you could reach everyone? So
It's interesting that you kind of started this business that is so tied, in some of the other industries represented here, you can in a lot of ways avoid some of the barriers in terms of being observant. But you're in the food space, so it's something you had to embrace immediately as part of what you do. So that's interesting that when you started, you had it in mind that you were still going to do this anyway, even though it was going to be kosher, but want to reach the masses at the same time. That's fascinating.
Yeah, I wanted to scale beyond at some point, because then at some point I want to sell pots and pans that have Prep and Rally all over it, and for it not to just be in the kosher kitchen, but to be everywhere in the world. So
That's awesome.
dream big.
Yeah, thank you. Okay, hello, Talia.
Well, it's great to be back, and the room is like...
No, we lost your mic.
The room is probably triple the size, I think, of what it was when we did the first conference, so it's great to see everyone. Talia Mashiach, I'm the CEO, founder, and product architect of a software company called Eved. This is actually my 4th company, and I've said, and I said it at the table I was sitting at, I really believe, especially for women, that you should build your career around the life that you want. And the companies that I've had previous have been different than what I'm doing today based on where I was with my life. Eved is a large software company. We are venture-backed, which means that we've raised a lot of venture money, about $25 million. We provide software to some of the largest companies in the world, like Apple and Dell and pharmaceutical companies. And what we do is we enable them to pay for all of their marketing services for events through our software, which allows them to be able to see what they're spending on a global scale for a very important marketing channel. You guys hear me?
Yeah.
okay, for a very important marketing channel, and which requires us to actually make payments all over the globe. We have an office in Europe, an office in Chicago, and we just opened an office in China. But it wasn't always I set out with this company wanting to do something really big and do something different. But my first company, way back when I was first married, my husband was a musician, and he did the Jewish music band in Chicago, and I was his business back end. And so that's where we started. And this is going to be a really interesting discussion because I think when you think about your business, the first thing you go to is who do I know and where am I comfortable, which can often be within your community and within your friends and family. And I think the real question comes out is, okay, how do I extend beyond that and get comfortable in a world where I really want to be able to grow my business? So excited to talk about that.
Thank you. Okay, who are you?
Hi, my name is Marcy Tabelli. I'm speaking on behalf of my mom, Julie Mala, Juice by Julie. And my
She's
mom,
here. She's here.
She's
Just
right
give a wave.
there.
But
She's
it's
very
really
shy.
It's a family. You'll talk about it, but
okay.
it's a family,
It's a family business,
which is amazing.
So my mom went back to school when she was 50 years old to study nutrition. And as she was in school, my dad went to the doctor, and they told him that he had high cholesterol. So my mom was researching all types of things like juices, and as she was studying the juices, she came across this green juice, and she just kept on making it every morning for her, my dad, and my sister, who was living at the house at the time. And after 2 months, she went back to the doctor, and of course she did a whole diet and everything, and she went back to the doctor, and the doctor said, looked at my dad's numbers, and she's like, what did you do? I see the numbers went down, astronomical. So she said, I don't know, I've been making this green juice, and I noticed that even on myself, my hair got fuller, my skin got clearer, and he said, whatever you've been doing, I don't need to put him on medication, and just, keep it up. So at the time, my dad, he was in a business with my brothers, and the business wasn't doing so great. So my mom was doing this on her own, and she just, woke up 3 o'clock in the morning, was making this juice, and she went and she was waking up in the morning making this juice and brought it for her family, my grandmother, my sisters, my cousins, everything, and she said, you know what, this could be something. She was giving it to everybody, and everyone was noticing that they were not getting this sugar rush, they were just losing weight, and she really thought that it was really something. So she noticed that she was losing weight, so now she went and brought it to somebody's exercise class, somebody that was really an exercise class with 40 or 50 women, and everybody was really getting onto it. So now my dad at the time saw that she was onto something, and he's like, you know what, this could be something. He jumped onto the bandwagon, and he started researching. My mom's like, you know what, why don't you research into the labels, into bottles and everything. And at the time, she was just, really wanted to just do it on her own. But we all got involved, and we said, going in and out?
Yeah, say
So
that again.
he said, you know what, we all pushed my dad and said, you know what, we told my mom, you need to get involved. We need to let daddy get involved. And to make a long story short, it ended up being a family company, and everybody got involved, and today we have 5 stores, and it became a .com. We sell to Groupon, Amazon, where we became a family business. From just that one drink turned into 25 drinks, and it became salads, and it just grew from that one drink.
That's
It's
amazing.
crazy.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
That's great. Chaya, who are you?
I'm Chaya Krinsky, and I'm the lead designer and creative director at Ta Furniture. I run the company alongside my husband, Bruce, and began the career when I was actually in college and doing what I loved most at the time, which was I was a preschool teacher and drove 3 hours a day to Greenwich, Connecticut to teach 2-year-olds, and I absolutely loved that job. The driving was tough, but I kept on it. At the time of the recession, which hit us like a mother, my husband's real estate business went belly up. Always the optimist, and with a newly purchased home, he decided to buy a furniture company called Coleman Furniture off an older Texas man who had no idea what to do with the internet. He recruited my brother Ari, who's a logistics master and a true Heverman, to join him for a few short hours in between his kollel, and his younger brother as well, who was literally straight out of yeshiva, to figure out how to be head of IT. The three of them did not know what a console table was and pronounced buffet like this, Buffett, as in Warren. After being in the furniture business, my husband soon recognized a serious void in the industry, which led him to impulsively order his first container out of China, sight unseen. We laughed that day, and the container arrived to the US a few weeks later with no warehouse to unload it in. Those were the fun days. Like all companies, he needed a story so that his company could be unique in the marketplace. If you are not unique in the marketplace, you will ultimately compete on price, and that is a very dangerous game. Your company needs to position themselves in the right way. One day I came home from a short day of preschool, long day of driving, to find my photo in the front page of a 4-page catalog as the designer. The message was clear to me. He needed a woman's touch, and he believed it was going to be me. I slowly got involved, and at the conclusion of that school year, I committed to a serious career change. It may seem to a lot of people like success happens overnight, but what you see as the end result is only the tip of the iceberg. In truth, over 90% of success happens beneath the surface. Hard work works. We put in an insane amount of hours into working our vision. Working with family is a serious challenge in its own right. I work with and for my brother, brother-in-law, other brother, mother-in-law, cousins, my brother's brother-in-laws, sister-in-laws, sisters, and brothers. We are 50% family. But working alongside your husband every single day is a miracle. Those of you that already know me know that I am a bulldozer who does things 100%. If I'm making dinner, I strive to gourmet. Working out, it's 5:45 a.m. beast mode. So this challenge was one I welcomed and worked with, and it has only helped us to get to where we are. Tav is now one of the fastest growing furniture companies in the US, in a field of almost 2,000 furniture brands. I am one of 3 woman-owned businesses in the furniture industry. I am the only frum woman in the industry, the only one. Designers excluded. We've been called the Zara of furniture, as our mission has been to introduce to the market stylish furniture that won't break the bank. Our company is a female-driven company, and it's primarily run by millennials. Our girl boss is 25 years old and has been with us from the start. Oh, Bela. I am thrilled and honored to be here today. Thank you to the JWE for the work you do. I would have loved having this organization, to my knowledge, 5 years ago, and I'm so happy for everyone here to be able to attain knowledge, and happy that I am able to gain from everyone here today.
Thank you for being here. So I'm going to jump right into something you said about standing out and being unique in the marketplace. And I think that something that everybody grapples with is, how do you market outside the community? How do you know what interests the masses?
That's a very good question. In whatever industry you're in, whether it be food, whether it be jewelry, whether it be anything, headgear, you need to study styles and trends and consumer habits. You must. Because we are a fashion-forward furniture company, I follow runway trends. I go to Paris and Milan to see the latest fashion. I follow pop culture and try not to have my head in the sand. But really, my secret weapon is my shluchas. I grew up as a Chabad shlucha in Long Beach, California. This is really my secret weapon. Most of my interactions and friendships were with people not necessarily from my background. From a young age, I learned to proudly maintain my Jewish identity, but yet to bring maximum impact to those around me. The point I'm trying to make here is, do not have tunnel vision. Not being able to see what's around you is called tunnel vision. Get out of your tunnel. Go study, learn, engage with people in your industry. read trade publications, listen to podcasts, and ask those in your industry for help. It was genuinely surprising to me how eager people in my industry were to help me with questions that may seem stupid or petty. Getting to a comfort level to ask for that help from those older than you or more experienced from you can be very challenging if you're shy or you're unsure of yourself, but you are the only person that could make that choice to be bold and ask. Ask for help. It's there.
Thank you for that. Deanie, you mentioned on your live that you had with Abby this past Sunday that there are a bunch of different networks that you are a part of. In addition, if you could share a little bit about that and then some of the other efforts you have made to sort of keep your finger on the pulse and just the widespread food community in general, and how you've kind of figured out what do people really want.
Are you talking about in terms of networking?
I'm talking about in terms of networking, but also in terms of identifying really what are the needs out there that extend beyond the community. So Chaya is kind of touching on, listening to podcasts that are out there, keeping up to date on, publications. I know you travel a lot, Chaya, which we'll talk about in a bit, to see the trends and everything like that. In what way, whether it's some of the networks you're part of and talking to other people or the things that you read, could you throw something at us, some piece of advice of just that, keeping your finger on the pulse outside your community, how to do that?
100%. So I think it wasn't until recently that I really started networking. Working as a private chef for 7 years, I was just kind of doing my own thing and working with my clients. So I had this personal relationship with them, but I didn't really think I needed to really reach out and speak to anybody else or network anyway, because I was just kind of doing my own thing and living in my own bubble. And yes, it was great kind of like being by myself all day long, but at some point it's really great to get out there, be inspired by other people, and network. And I joined this Hey Mama community. I think it was about 3 months ago, and it's a monthly fee. I think it's like $35 a month, and you're put into the system all day long. You're getting emails from everybody else in the network, which are all female entrepreneurs in search of a so-and-so or opportunity. I'm hosting an event next week. Come, there'll be this and that there, or anything. You could literally post anything on there, giveaways, whatever it may be. I was searching for a part-time marketing employee, and I found her through there. 5 different people reached out to me. I chose one, and that has literally changed the game for me. That's like my first official hire. You just never know what's going to come from it. And I've gone to different events now, and I'm meeting different moms and female entrepreneurs who are also doing their thing, working on different collaborations with them. You just never know where different opportunities will take you by the people that you meet. It's all about that network, and that's how you grow your social media. That's how you really grow anything. It's by the people you meet, which lead you to the next thing, which lead you to the next thing, and it's so exciting because you just never know what's going to be next. So that's been super powerful. An event like this is super powerful because you're just talking to other people that are going through the same thing as you are. I've had to figure out a lot on my own. It's been a lot of blood, sweat, and tears, but I've learned so much along the way, especially the past 6 or 7 months and officially launching Prep and Rally, that I feel like I have so much that I could share now just by learning it all on my own. But I would say also podcasts have been super helpful. You guys know I love the Jenna Kutcher podcast, The Goal Digger. I've learned so much on there all about marketing your brand, how to serve, not sell, how to do a drip campaign, why ebooks could be really profitable for you. So try to absorb as much as you can because there are other people going through what you're going through. You are not alone. And I know when you're running your own business, it's so easy to think I'm the only one going through this. No one else has these struggles and no one else is combating this and that. But everyone's going through such similar things with minor little modifications. Little differences, and just reach out to people and network because you just never know where it'll lead you.
Were there role models in the food and service space that you were following who are outside of the mainstream community who you could
From day one, I always loved Jada De Laurentiis. I used to watch the Food Network, and I was like, I want to be that. After graduating FIT and being completely turned off of the fashion industry, I was like, I don't really I like to cook and I'm creative, so I feel like I could do this. But I just want to be that. I want to grow a brand. I want to have a TV show. I want to sell pots and pans. I want to become, known for this. And it took me 7 years to figure out what this is and what my niche is. Am I kosher? Am I the healthy person? Am I a mom? Am I but what makes me different? And that took so long to find that POV, that point of view, and what makes me different and how I'm able to help other people with my, my special sauce or my secret
you.
sauce.
Talia, you touched on this in your introduction. Making connections in a very unlikely space, the tech space, being, how many observant women, when you go into a tech event or you're, in a room with a bunch of techies, how many people look like you? How many women are there? Let's start
I would
with that.
say, yeah, you could start with saying how many are women, which are so few women in the technology space, and then if there are women having 5 children, they're all like everyone's mouths drop, right? And then on top of it being an Orthodox woman, right? So if there are others out there, I would love to meet you, but I find myself often to be the only one in the room. And it wasn't always like that. My other business, I had one product company, two service companies.
We're going in and out. I don't know where our AV team, thank you. We're in and out.
Are we good? Okay,
No, we're not. We're still going in and out. No, we're not. Yeah, but it's attached. Is that what it said? Oh. Look at that. Simple solution. We just need a new battery in there. Look at that. See, sometimes the lesson for life. Just can you yell? Yeah. Everybody's surprisingly very quiet right now.
You guys here? Okay. So I started, as I said, this is my 4th company. So I had a product company and 2 service companies, and those were very different experiences. But I really wanted to challenge myself, and I love complex problems, and I love software, and so I decided that I would really challenge myself to get out there and try to build a $1 billion software company, which I knew was going to be just this huge, big challenge. And one of the things you have to do, which is really tough, is I actually did put in my own money to begin with, and I got it going with my own money, but at a certain point you have to raise money. And I don't know how many people here have had to go in front of any type of person to pitch your idea and raise money, but I had to go in front of a venture capitalist, which is pretty tough, especially in the technology market. I'm sure you guys heard of Silicon Valley and others. They're not used to seeing women, and they're certainly not used to seeing women who have children and who are Orthodox. And I had to get really comfortable, and I think it goes back to relationships. Like you have to get comfortable getting to know people. I think anything in business, whether, what business you have and whatever you're trying to do, it's about building relationships with people. And it took me a long time, and I think one of the things that's really interesting that people will tell me why they invested in me, right? And why the people who worked for me or others, they really appreciated. They said, you know what? You're a really genuine person who believes in your values and you stick by them all the time. And there's a comfort to that. And so while I don't talk a lot about, I'm not out there saying, oh, I'm Orthodox. Oh, I can't do this. Oh, I can't go eat in these restaurants. They absolutely know it. And there's a certain respect for being that and holding to that I think that I've been able to garner, which has been huge in being able to build the relationships. And it takes time. You got to get outside your comfort zone, and then you go ahead and then you build and you build and you build. And it's just remembering who you are and what you stand for, and it'll go a really long way.
Thanks for that. Talia, in terms of making those initial connections or even getting in front, of a VC, VC group, how did that happen? Can you kind of backtrack a little bit? How did you land in that room? What were the connections? So you said you made these connections. Where did you make these connections? Where did you meet people? I think that there's a lot of fear in getting out there, but it's also a lot of, well, where do you get out to? Like, where do you go? Where do you meet these people? Who do you call?
And I think it goes the same not only to raise money, but I closed the first 5 huge enterprise contracts. And some of the contracts we have are huge companies, and I know everybody knows Apple, so I like to use that because it's a big company. It's like, well, how do you go close a multi-million-dollar contract with a big company like that? And it's the same, really, as it is with the venture capital if you're raising money. It's about being able to find someone to build a relationship with. You actually don't sell to a company, you sell to a person, no matter what you're selling. And it's a person that you've built a relationship with. And how, for me, I'm not so comfortable like picking up the phone and cold calling. That's really hard. And so what I actually appreciate is being able to get like a warm introduction from somebody, and then I can go in and do my thing. And so being out there, just even for example here in a room like this or other conferences where you know somebody and you just have to be willing to ask, would you mind making that introduction? And then once you make the introduction, don't go right into your sales pitch. Oh, this is what I want from you, right? Because then people are gonna back off, right? It's first about being able to build some kind of a relationship, right? So there was someone who I met a couple weeks ago in New York, and he's a board member of a company a public company that could potentially acquire us in the future. So I don't need that right now, but I know I may need that in the future. So I'm going to start building that relationship now, so that when it's ready, then I could say, hey, this is what I'm looking for. And so simply asking questions about them, what interests them. My best question is, well, how did you get into this space? What was your journey? Where are you going? And people love to talk about themselves. When I was selling into Apple, and the person is actually a really good friend of mine now, I was like, what's your goals in your career, right, at Apple? What do you want to achieve? Because, of course, I wanted her to start thinking, well, if she would buy our software and lead this huge project of global payments, that might be able to help her escalate the career that she wants, right? And so it's all about kind of that relationship building, and definitely don't be afraid to ask for the warm intros. And if you're way more awesome than me and feel like you could just pick up the phone, then pick up the phone, but don't pitch. Pick up the phone and genuinely ask about that person, and then you'll have the opportunity to build the relationship and then pitch later.
I like that. Did you want to jump in?
I actually want to mention one thing. To follow up on that, that's an amazing point, and I want to mention that trying to maintain relationships with, whether it be the stores you want to sell to, whether it be your customers, is very important even when they are not buying from you. You never know what's going on behind, I guess, closed doors, and you never know where their business is holding and when they'll come back. So a lot of times people will say, well, they're not customers of mine right now, so what's the point? You really, I mean, I've been in this moment so many times where I've gone back and maintained relationships and asked and said, asked about their holiday times and how their children were doing. And 1 year later, guess what? When things were doing better and the market was up and customers were back in their stores, they picked up the phone and called us because they knew that the relationship was there and they remember you. So keeping in touch is a huge, huge thing you must do. And just in our company, something we like to say is the phone is your hidden weapon. In 2019, people hide behind DMs, they hide behind texting, they hide behind WhatsApp. You cannot hide behind a phone call. You can try, but it's very, very hard. Picking up the phone and calling, sometimes just to give you a personal story, when I wanted to sign Bob's Furniture Discount Store, I called every single Monday for 25 weeks in a row at exactly the same time. And my company, Bayla sitting here, said, you're psycho. Stop calling. And I said, nope, I'm going to do what I do, and I'm going to call and call and call. In the 25th week, a woman picked up the phone, and she was like, I don't know, the phone never rings here, so I just had to pick it up and see who it was. And it was me, and we signed them, and that was because I was persistent and because I used the phone. If had I emailed, we would have never gotten in. So the phone is really a secret weapon.
Another really great tip is like during the holiday time, right? I read a lot, and I suggest for everyone the best way I grew is by reading books, especially other entrepreneur stories. One of the best ones out there now is the Nike story, by the way. And I'll read a lot of books that end something as meaning, and before the holidays, I'll actually take the time and I'll engrave each one of the books to the key customers, and not just my customers today, but to people who have helped me along my journey. Like, never forget those people. And I send them all out with like a whole page in encryption, and that's like probably one of the most meaningful things, and they remember you. And then I agree too, always the people that's not time yet, like I said, to be able to sell, but build the relationship in advance. So if you think like, in advance of who you want to get to know, and then work on that for a while.
Thank you for that. Marcy, you've taken the Juice by Julie brand outside of just the 5 stores. You said you're selling on Amazon, but you're also selling in a number of brick and mortar stores, correct?
Yes.
How did those relationships develop? How did you get in the door in those spaces?
To the retail stores. So that's through the wholesalers. So we hired a company to take it into the whole. That's through .com. That's wholesale.
Got it.
That's not me.
Okay, so you
That's my
outsource.
brothers.
Oh,
That's my
your-
brothers.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So they do that. My part is through I hire. We have let's say for me bloggers. That took it to a whole nother level also.
Are you engaging with bloggers outside the community
Yes.
as well?
So we have a PR company.
Okay.
I think that's very important as well. Having a PR company is taking it to a whole nother level. Instagram, it's very important. It's just, if
They've-
it wasn't for bloggers, I feel like it's just, they don't see a product. I mean, we had Chef Chaya, we had Frumi, we have Esha Style. I feel like they bring the
They help push
product
your
out there.
brands.
Yes, I think bloggers is very important.
Was the PR company able to help you identify bloggers that are outside?
Yes.
The
so
community?
outside the community, as far as the
Non-observant.
not observant, like We Wore What, those other bloggers.
They work
it
with
brings
them.
they bring them to all yoga studios and stores like Bandier. They bring them to events. So that's the PR company, not in our community. Those are very important.
Interesting.
To hire a PR company is very important.
Because I think one of the questions I remember we got at our 2017 conference was how do you, get to those bloggers? How do you, so you've hired a PR company, and that's...
For the outside world?
Yeah.
Yeah, we hired a PR company, but as far as, in my community, in our community, I research a lot. I'm on Instagram all night, all day, looking for another blogger and the next person. You're always looking for somebody else, for someone
You're
to bring
helping
your
push it
product to
out.
the net. Yeah, but it's very important. Really, Instagram, it's very important.
That's amazing. One question we polled, kind of the JWE pushed out on Instagram. We crowdsourced what were questions that women wanted answered, and on this panel. And one of the questions we got was, how do you get PR coverage outside the community? So you mentioned that you hired a PR group. Dini, you've been in a bunch of videos and Tasty Made. Is that Taste Made? Okay, how did you land those gigs?
Okay, so I always say it's a mixture of luck and hustle. I don't believe it's one or the other. I really do think that it comes down to both of them. When I was working as a private chef, I started a YouTube channel, and I would have some guests on to cook with me in the kitchen. I hired a production company who I actually met through this modeling agency years before that. So one thing led to the next. He totally believed in me and gave me a really great price to come actually produce these videos. I would have guests on, and I actually had this one guest on one time. Her name was Tara. And apparently Taste Made was looking for new talent. They got to Tara's YouTube channel and said, ooh, they saw our video that we did together, and they were like, oh, who's this Dini girl? So they got to my channel, which I had 0 subscribers at the time, but we had this video together, and she had a larger following. Taste Made found her and then got to me through her. They reached out, and I started working with them, and that was just 2 months after a major network basically told me, no, we'd love to work with you, but you just got to drop the kosher thing. So obviously I'm thinking okay, great, the kosher is going to be another issue. I won't be able to go on TV and do these food videos because I keep kosher. But they're like, no, we want you to be yourself. We don't do hair and makeup because we want you to look like yourself. We want you to be yourself. They're all about just being your own unique self. And if they were fine with me not tasting the food at the end. So we started filming together. So that's kind of how Taste Made came about, and I've gotten a bunch of branded gigs through them. So that kind of helped me really get out of the Jewish community and show me that I could maybe do this food media thing professionally. And then I just on my own I secured a bunch of local things in New York. I think I did something in Connecticut, News Channel 12. I filmed with them a few times, and I just completely reached out to them on my own via email and said, I sent them my reel, I sent them a media kit. I've like just reached out to everybody, every connection that I have, I've just made through people, through Instagram. You just never know what, I mean, I know you were saying that DMs aren't the greatest thing, but sometimes it could be good. Like I've made some great connections. Like I would love to reach out to you and work with your brand. What's the best email contact for you? And they give you, you know, their real email rather than it just being like info@so-and-so. They'll give you like Sarah@so-and-so, so you could reach a human being. So you could really form these relationships, and I've made a lot of those connections on my own. And now more recently with Prep and Rally, trying to figure out where I should be spending my money. Should it be PR? Should it be marketing? So I almost went with one PR company that wanted to charge me like $70K a year for PR. And although she's the best in the industry and represents like the most massive food people out there, I just didn't think that it would necessarily make a difference in my following. I didn't think it would do that much for me or end up bringing in that much income. At least I wouldn't be able to make back what I would be spending. And then Naomi Nachman, actually, big shout out to you, connected me to this local woman in LA.
Who did you say?
See?
Sorry, I missed
it's
the
all
name.
connections, Naomi Nachman.
Naomi.
Recently connected me with
Queen of
Trina.
connections.
Yeah, so she connected me with somebody who's local in LA, and I was like, you know what, I don't want to spend a crazy amount, but I'm willing to go a little smaller scale, someone local that could maybe get me into KTLA or Home and Family. And sure enough, I've already done KTLA once since working with her for like, it's been about 2 or 3 months. I've done KTLA once, I've done Home and Family twice, going back to KTLA for Memorial Day segment, and then she's got me in a bunch of papers. Again, the numbers don't go up all of a sudden once I'm on TV. So I was like happy that I didn't spend the crazy amount of money on PR, but it's more, you know, footage to promote what I'm doing and to put on my website and to just have my.
It might be a long-term play.
Yeah,
It's not,
exactly.
You know,
But for right now, all the money is really
ROI is
going
not
towards marketing, towards growing it, towards making the service better and better every single day. So knowing where to put your money, and then also using your connections and resources to get you to the next place.
love that.
I think it really depends on your business, right? So consumer is completely different than on a product side and a service side and a wholesale side. So everything's very, very different. One of my recommendations is that you really think about where you're going and what you want out of it. Like a lot of people think, oh, I'll get on TV or I'll get this article and great, then I'll figure out what I'm going to do with it. I think it's really about planning what you're trying to do and then really being careful on how. I actually haven't spent a lot of money on PR agency. Again, I'm not on the consumer side, so it's very different. But my target are these very large corporations. One of the things I found really helpful, especially in some of my previous businesses, was awards. So there are all kinds of awards that you can apply for, depending in your space. And when you get, if you can win one of those awards, or even if you're nominated as a finalist, you can do a whole bunch around those, which is really helpful. And then those get picked up. And I'd also say, I think once you start, so it really depends what you're branding, and it depends on your business. Are you branding yourself? Is it your story, or is it your brand story, right? And depending on that is also, so for me, it wasn't always so much what my company was, because we were selling, but also they love the story of the mother of 5 kids, right? And so that was the story. And then it started with the Tribune article, and then this article, and that article. And once you start with those base, they build on it, right? And then truthfully, we didn't even actively, for us, we didn't actively use as much PR as our best way from a channel perspective, and we wound up investing more in direct selling. So again, thinking about that and your business is really important before you go in and make those investments.
Did you want to say something? Okay. I wanted to use what you said. It's a good segue in terms of, do you tell people that you are from, that you are observant? Is that part of your business narrative? Is it part of your, story, or do you try to keep that under the radar? How do you navigate that piece in terms of what the role it plays in your business story? Do you want to start?
For me, I am so completely outside of the community with this business. My people know, and within my own company, my employees know that, but it's not something I focus on or I dwell on. And I actually have really enjoyed being able to have a separation between my home life and my community and my friends and my business. So previous businesses, I didn't have that, and it was really tough. but I am able to go to work and experience all of that, and then come home, and my friends don't even know what I do. Like we don't talk about that at all, and I love that, and that's been amazing for me. And then not having to talk all about my personal life in my business, which has been big. They do talk a lot about the mom with 5 kids. Going out and kosher comes up with dietary restrictions. Other than that, I actually kind of keep it a little bit quieter for my own personal reasons.
So do you just have an autoresponder on Shabbos and Yontif that says, just out of office?
Yep,
And
we
it's not
call it in
specific.
so it's more for my own leadership team, because we're larger, so it's very much becomes more about your team versus your customers. You have more people that can help you manage the customers. But we call it, Talia, they say, Talia, when are you dark? Like, that's the word, when you go dark, and we can't get in touch with you. And so they know that during that time that I will not answer. And it's interesting because one of my clients who's not Jewish, is the story, she's like, well, I've been doing a lot of research and I understand a lot more, and I just think that it's so beautiful that you keep Shabbat. Can you tell me about it? She's like, can I keep Shabbat for a week? Because she goes, I want to be able to see what it's like to turn off my phone and not be able to talk about business. And it was actually, she asks me a lot of questions about it, which I'm happy to answer. And again, that builds a relationship. But I won't proactively go out and say, no, I won't say, oh, it's Sukkot and it's Yontif, I can't, answer.
Interesting. Chaya, how do you feel about
A loaded
this?
one for me.
Yeah.
Well, we have 4 times a year we show at furniture shows, which if you follow us on Instagram, you'll see that it's a very interesting world that I'm in. The furniture industry is primarily Catholic and Christian, old school, middle America. And to have a firm company right out of New York, my husband's right out of Brooklyn, is very different for people. So when people walk in and they, we're TOV, we're Tav, we're Mazel Tov. People know what that is. They're not clueless. People that walk in and say, well, what is your company, what's its name? I try hard to give both ends of the stick. So I always say, well, it stands for tone of voice, which it does. The furniture is your tone of voice. We're feminine and we give our whole pitch, but we're Jewish, and I leave it at that. I try very hard not to hide from the fact that I'm a frum Jew. I don't run around screaming, I'm from. But when I'm standing in with a group of high-end designers who say to me, who does your hair? I say, it's a wig. I'm religious, and it's a fabulous wig. It's a Zelda. And they say, well, why? Why do you wear a wig? And I say, well, it's just something that religious women do, and you're welcome to email me. I'd love to chat about it later. And that's that. I don't hide. I'm proud, and I feel so gifted and blessed to be in the space I'm in and to be from. But I think that keeping business and religion separate is extremely, extremely important. It gets touchy, it gets messy, and I think that if you keep business as business, you'll see good things from it. That's basically where I'm going to leave it.
I like that. I relate to that a lot. I'm an M&A attorney, and I was recently at a closing dinner, and we sold a company for $200 million. And I always am a little nervous when I go to these closing dinners. It's a room of, first of all, I'm usually one of the only females there, but it's a room of investment bankers, and it's usually a pretty waspy group. Nobody really knows about kosher. I'm in Baltimore. And so I was recently at a really fancy dinner, and we're at this closing dinner, and it's this beautiful restaurant, and I know what's coming. How they bring the kosher meal is, it's triple wrapped, but they put every side dish on one platter, and each one is triple wrapped, and then the whole platter is triple wrapped. It's like you need a saw. You need a saw. And it just it comes out, and I'm like, oh my, okay, I'm just gonna roll with this, right? I'm unwrapping each piece. It's about 20 minutes till I could get to, my salad. And this guy gets up, and he was one of the one of the investors, he was with the private equity group that was heavily invested in the company that we had sold. And he gets up and he says, I just want everybody to know that when I was at that stage in my career, I would have never had the guts to order a kosher meal to a place like this, but I just love your integrity and I just so appreciate, how you're just wearing what you are. And it was like this, it was this incredible moment. I was like, I'm gonna just, cry right now because it was a lot of effort of just holding in, like, I can do this, this is fine, this is socially completely crazy, but I can do this. But I feel, it is very important, a very important part of my narrative is this is what I am, and I try to be consistent that the same person that am at home, I bring to work, and it's all back and forth, and my Judaism is such a strong, has such a strong place in that. And I get questions about my hair. I've had coworkers that I've let them try on my wig, and they think it is so crazy. They think it is so crazy, but I think it's so great because I jump out of the shower, there's a messy wet bun, and now I look glamorous, So I think this is great. But back to everybody here. So I guess I want to turn to the audience and give other people the opportunity to ask questions quickly because we only have a few minutes left. But one thing I want to hear is, is there any kind of Kiddush Hashem moment that you've experienced that you would want to share? A moment where you felt you wore your Judaism with pride, or you felt that you were broadcasting to the world, we have unique values, we have, this rich heritage. Is there, whether someone asked you a cool question? I mean, Dini, I found it very inspiring. I remember reading one of your posts where you said you struggled, that there were opportunities that you lost because of being kosher, but that's who you are. And to me, that's an incredible sanctification of God's name. I mean, that's incredible integrity, and wearing your Judaism like that, to me, is such an incredible thing. So I wanted to give the opportunity if anybody else, wanted to share, a time or a place or somewhere where they were able to kind of make that more a part of their story.
So I think there's a couple things, and I think everyone's going to experience this, and someone said it on the last panel, is I can't count the number of opportunities that I missed because they were on Yontif or on Shabbos, or I had to travel to a place. And I think that people around me are like, I can't believe that you're giving up on that opportunity. And I say, well, I believe that whatever's meant to be, that this is not just not going to stop whatever the future opportunities will be, but it'll help. And one of my big VC investors, not long ago, he said to me, he goes, Talia, it's so obvious, somehow you are like in line with the divine, with God. And for him to say that, and I've never gone out and really talked much about it with him, but for him to notice and to realize and to say that, I thought was big. Another I would just say is in our behavior. So everyone in my office noticed there's actually not even another Jew, I don't think, who works in our office. And I don't ever curse. And, that's become very common in the workplace. And it's interesting because no one curses around me. And then if they do, they're like, oh, I'm so sorry. And it's not like I've ever said to anyone, oh, don't do that in front of me. But it's clear that people have picked up that behavior and realized and then really respected. So even just in sometimes the largest thing and sometimes to the smallest thing, people notice. And I think that you have a tremendous opportunity to make a Kiddush Hashem all the time, especially when it comes to being honest. And I think everybody is challenged, especially, again, as your business grows. And we heard before, when it comes to money, people can get funny. And when they watch you, especially your team, having to make some very difficult decisions, which could cost you potentially a lot of money, but doing the right thing and doing the honest thing and knowing that there's an integrity that you carry from your values that you learn as a Jew, and you take that into your business and you don't compromise. The thing I always say to people is, if this story were to show up in your Instagram feed, on a WhatsApp chat, on the front page of the paper, right, would you be embarrassed about it? And if your answer is yes, then that means you're rationalizing that decision to yourself, okay? So that's always like a great check-in, and people notice that, and I think that's the greatest Kiddush Hashem we could make.
I like that. Thank you. Do you want to add to that, or we're going to turn?
Okay, I'll just answer. I'll answer
Sure.
two sentences. So I guess one of my moments was we just started doing business, believe it or not, in Saudi Arabia, and the whole group of Saudi Arabian men walked into the showroom and said, in very heavy accents, well, we're here, to check out what you guys do and who you guys are. And we started talking, and then they said to me, are you Jewish? And in my shlichus brain was going, this is your moment, this is your moment. And I'm like, yes, I am. And they said, well, have you ever been to Israel? And I said, my dad's Israeli. And I held strong, and I was smiling, and I was confident, and my shoulders were raised. And by the end of that meeting, they ordered 7 containers. And at the end, I wrote on, you have to be confident and be proud of who you are. The role you play as a frum woman is something that is so special and unique in whatever space you're in and whatever you're selling. And instead of answering like this, when people ask you, what are you wearing on your head? Well, it's nothing, it's just, answering like this, it's a wig, and I'm a frum Jew, with a smile on your face is powerful. And I'm a big believer in that.
Thank you for that. We have a couple minutes for some quick questions. Oh, we have a question here. Do we have a mic runner? Oh, should we pass? Oh, can we have another mic? You're bringing us another mic? Okay, thanks.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Can I just take this opportunity to say how inspired I am by all of you? Talia, especially you. I've been coming to this conference for a bit, and you were there from the start. And I call back to a lot of your stories. So I just want to tell you, you can inspire after you inspire. So that's the first thing. This is really, I'm an interior designer. This is really directed to Chaya. Thank God we have this lifestyle where we have lots of children, thank God, and Yiddish mamas, and it's, especially in the fashion and design industry. I heard you travel, and you say you stay current, you go to all the shows. So how would you, what advice would you give someone who is kind of anchored to their house, thank God, between babies and nursing and needs of their children, and traveling to stay current and to get all those very important trends and all the styles to foresee. What would you tell someone like me?
So I would say that's a great question, and in the interior design community, which I know a lot of you in the crowd are in, really I'm going to answer as best as I feel. You cannot miss shows. If you want to get out there and you want to see what's trending and you want to see the world around you, the best way in this space is through trade shows. The best way, better than anything else. So if you feel, and it's a struggle that every single person feels, I've had many, many moments where I sat and cried in India, in Moradabad, in the car at 11 o'clock at night, feeling terribly guilty and sad that I wasn't with my girls. So feeling that struggle is completely normal, and that's what makes you a good mom and makes you a good person. Feeling no guilt and no struggle to me is insane. So it's difficult to make that jump, but when you do go, and when you do attend these trade shows and different places in the world, and I have a friend who's here today who I literally dragged on the plane with me because she's doing great in her space but wanted to expand to the outside world, and I said, we're going to Milan. We have to go. You're going to see what's out there. And at the end of the trip, she said to me, I just spent 3 days there, and my mind is blown. Like, I didn't even know these things exist. I didn't even know that there's a space like this out there. It's so important to go, not just for yourself, but for your kids, for your family. You're showing your kids, you know what? I'm important too, and this business means a lot to me too, and I'm going to give it my all because I am a doer. And I work hard, and going to these shows, you don't have to go over Shabbos. You can go for 3 days. You can go for 1 day. I've been in China for 48 hours. You can go and do your thing, and if you do it right, you can go for a short period of time, but it is so essential and important in the design community to go.
Do we have any more questions? We have one all the way back there. Put on your running shoes. Okay, we're coming for you.
So I have a question about the niching piece specifically. I have a service-based business, and a lot of what I've heard about niching is niche small, there's no such thing as too small, have your niche, really know who you're talking to, know who your ideal client is. So when it comes to, like a lot of you were talking about, you know, you don't want to limit yourselves. You don't want to only have this select group of people that you're speaking to. How do you really build a brand and build a sales technique when you're talking to such a broad audience?
How do you stay niche while trying to market to the masses? Is that correct? Okay. How do you stay niche while still trying to market to the masses?
Who's that for?
She's just asking anybody. Marcy, do you also want to talk about staying
So I think what it comes down to is just being authentic. I mean, you could look on Instagram, and I posted something a couple days ago about how I feel like everyone's trying to, now the trend, instead of being so perfect on Instagram, now the trend is to show how imperfect you are, all the hard struggles you're going through, how your kids are so horrible, your life is so difficult, to be relatable, right? Do you guys agree with that? That like it seems like everyone's just like pushing all, like just to try to be more relatable, and I so believe in trying to be relatable, but do it in an authentic way so it doesn't seem like you're just pushing it out there to try to be the most authentic, but be real about it. I think Instagram stories are such a great way to fully let people into your life and see the day-to-day without all the filters and not all the pretty editing for your feed. Like if you look at my feed, I get 0 engagement on there, but my DMs blow up every day because people want to connect with me. I answer every single message personally. And I think that's a huge way to grow is by your authenticity. And going along, I think, with something that we were saying here about not selling right away. You want to serve, not sell, and that's something that I've learned recently, and it is so powerful. So when you're sending out a series of emails, like a drip campaign, don't start with a sales pitch. Start with here, I'm going to give you a free week PDF. We know you're going to love it. Put your email in here, and we'll send it right to you. You're serving them. You're giving them something amazing. Maybe the next time you're giving them another free recipe. Slowly, then there's like a bio about you, of why they should trust you, why you're an expert in your field. Make it relatable, make it personal, and people will love you for that because it's authentic, and it's you, and you're putting it all out there. They see the hustle, they see the work, and yeah, I think it just comes down to being authentic at the end of the day, and it doesn't matter if you have 100K followers on Instagram or 20 or 5. As long as you're authentic and you have a dedicated, loyal following, you could do anything. So.
Was your question? What's the question? Was that the question? Okay. So I agree with Deanie 100%. I think that you need to stay authentic and need to stay true to who you are. I, for instance, am a very private person. So those of you that see my Instagram will never hear I feel, I think, I know. Never. Because I'm just very private and I like my life to stay that way. And that's okay. And there are many people around me that say, well, what about your engagement? And how come people don't see your kids? What about your kids' after school activities? I never see it on Instagram. So what I say is, yeah, but you see couches and beautiful, beautiful homes that will inspire you, and that's what I do. I do furniture, and my life and my personal story is not applicable here. This is a business page. This is a business that I'm running. So again, you have to stay true to yourself. Those of you, and trust me, I watch my vice is I lay in bed and I love watching Instagram stories. I know a lot of us do that. I love it. People that have a strong voice, I'm in awe of. I think that it's just mind-blowing to me. But if you are not that kind of person, do not settle and do not feel like you need to go on and suddenly find something you're passionate about. It's just not important. Do what makes you feel authentic and makes you feel right. And if that means that you're more quiet on social media and you're posting a picture and putting a little heart, that's okay too. And that's you.
Just to go along with that one really, really quick, is that also just know what you're trying to sell and what your technique is to sell it. Like, you know, we were saying with furniture and keeping more private, that's 100% perfect and that works for you and you're able to sell in other ways, you know? So it's all just knowing what you're selling, what you're out there to do, and how you're going to go about selling it. For me, it's a meal prep service, and I sell it by showing people how I actually use it and how it saves my life every single day. My kids are eating beautifully every night. They eat they ask for like seaweed snacks and they eat salmon and they happily eat everything that I put in front of them. Or not, I don't want to say everything I put in front of them, but I try and I do it in a really unique way, and I like to show both when they are eating and they're not eating to encourage people to keep trying and keep at it. So my business and my personal really goes together because it's what I eat, live, breathe, sleep, and everything. Originally, I started 2 different accounts, one for Deanie_Klein, which was gonna be the personal stuff for the Deanie Klein website, one at Prep and Rally, which was just gonna be business. But Prep and Rally is my life and is my business, and that's why I do all the personal on there, because it's just the most authentic to me. So just know what you're trying to sell, how you're trying to sell it, and just be authentic in whatever way you choose to go about doing it.
Thank you so much to everyone on here. And all of these amazing ladies will be around for today, so feel free to follow up with them with questions. We're here. Thank you. We're going to go straight to lunch now. Hey, ladies.
Speaking. Do you want to go? Do you want to go?